Hey friends, welcome to another special edition here on Facebook from Ginghamsburg Church. We're coming to you each week with what we hope is wisdom and insight to help you navigate the current situation that we each find ourselves in. Today we're talking about leadership. I am here with Pastor Carl Penn. I'm excited to be with him. So Pastor Carl, welcome.
Thank you very much, Rusty. It's good to be here.
It's good to hang out together. 2 weeks ago, you're preaching this coming weekend. And 2 weeks ago, you and me and Pastor Rachel were talking through your message. We team together when we preach and give each other insight and feedback and all that good stuff. And we were preparing for it. You were sharing some of your outline, and you said something about your rocks. Do you remember what you said?
Yes. I said, even in this time of chaos, I am more focused on my rocks than ever.
Yeah, and I was driving, and I was talking to you on the phone, and I was like, the more I reflected on that, I was like, oh my gosh, that is awesome. That is good, incredible leadership. That even in the midst of crisis, you're still focused on the most important things. That's what leaders do. And so I want to sit down and talk with Carl and learn from him. And I think it will be valuable to other leaders, to other people who want to be leaders, and to people who don't know it, but that they are leaders, and how we can stay focused on the most important things, even when life gets crazy. So thanks for sitting down and talking. Just share with our listeners and viewers today a little bit about what your role is at Ginghamsburg.
Well, I am the lead pastor at the Fort McKinley location in Dayton, Ohio, and have not been there a year yet. I think that will be in July. But I am in charge and the face of the leadership there at Fort McKinley.
Yeah.
Right now, my biggest focus is on making sure that our congregation remains connected to us and that we remain connected to the congregation. So we're making lots of phone calls to our congregation between myself, the staff, and our care pastors. I take a lot of leadership where that relates, because that's an important part. We don't ever want our church to feel like, since the doors are not open, that we still aren't connected to them. Yeah. So that is a priority for me. Also throughout the week, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I do a prayer time on Facebook Live through Fort McKinley's page, and I also do Bible study, which will be on Tuesday at 8:30. So between what we're doing on the phones and reaching out and what we do Monday through Friday on Facebook Live, that is my role. That is how I stay connected to the congregation, and vice versa. So all those things are going really well, despite this COVID pandemic, surprisingly well. We've been getting tons of traffic on all the Facebook posts, and personally, I've been getting lots of phone calls from friends, from other members of other churches, from Tip City people, from Fort McKinley people. It is amazing, the results that have been happening with us going virtual. Yeah,
it's all, it's all digital. It's all online right now. Well, Thank you for your leadership, ma'am.
Yeah,
it's awesome to hear a little bit about that. You're also out in the community a lot too, especially when we can not be socially distant and all those kind of things.
Right.
So the work at Fort McKinley is not only in the four walls, but Amen. A lot of community stuff too. So that is awesome. And you've had a run of it, because in less than a year, there's been a KKK rally in our city, the Memorial Day tornadoes, and now this crisis. So it's like trial by fire for you, man.
Absolutely. And, kind of a funny story, but not really funny. The first weekend that I started as pastor at Fort McKinley Church, as we're getting ready for the worship service to start in probably a half an hour or so, one of the staff members at the time ran into the sanctuary where I was and said, "Pastor Carl, I think we have a gas leak." So my very first day as pastor of Fort McKinley Church, I had to kick everybody out of the church.
Yes.
Now we were able to get back in, and we didn't lose the service. We didn't lose much time at all, but I'll never, ever forget the fact that day one of being a pastor, I kicked everyone out of the church.
You kicked them all out.
So quickly thereafter was the tornadoes. It was the KKK rally. It was the Oregon massacre, the shooting in the Oregon district. That all happened at the same time. Now, the pandemic, you see. So it has been a trial by fire. It's been a wild year. But God's grace has been extended to me. His mercy, he's kept me calm throughout this chaotic and uncertain time. Yeah. He's kept me focused. So in a lot of ways, I've learned a lot through this pandemic and through all the things that we've been through as a church. It has absolutely let me see God in a new way. It has opened me up to being used by God in new ways. And I just say yes and amen to all of it.
Yeah.
Is it nuts? Is it crazy? Absolutely. Absolutely. But this is what God has called us to.
Yeah.
And I think we're flourishing in it, to be quite honest with you. So,
Well, back in January, we did a series called Breaking Busy. And a big portion of that was talked about defining our big rocks, kind of getting some time away with Jesus,
Right.
away with God, listening to that inner voice. If there's people that are listening that maybe even aren't people of faith, but we call that the Holy Spirit. But some
Right.
people
Right.
who might not be people of faith still understand there's this thing that happens inside of me as a leader that says, these are the things I need to be focused on. We call that God. So what did you write down? What were the big rocks? How did that series kind of impact you?
that series has impacted me tremendously because I was very sincere about praying to God about my rocks.
Yeah.
Because I knew that once I received from God what these rocks were, I would be focused on them for the rest of the year. So I took a lot of time, slowed myself down to really try and hear from God about what they were. And I have 5 of them.
Cool. Name them, yeah. Go for it.
They are not in a particular order unless my wife is watching.
Okay.
So,
Shannon, if you're out there.
right. So let's assume my wife is watching. So my first rock is to be a better husband.
Yes.
All right. Whatever that may mean. I don't think I'm a bad husband, but I can
Yeah.
be a better mate to my spouse. Yeah. She is a real gift to me. I am blessed by God to have her. So I need to find ways to continue to cherish her, to look out for her, to support her, to keep her encouraged,
Yeah.
etc. To be a good workmate for her. My second rock is to be a better pastor. The only way to become a better pastor is to do the work and to make yourself available and to avail yourself to the congregation. So a lot of that happens when I make my care calls to the congregation. A
Yeah.
lot of that happens in the emails and the phone calls and things we do on Facebook. I get lots of feedback, and there's always a lot of conversation between myself and the congregation. And I'm always trying to meet their needs, whatever that may mean. If it is food, if it is clothing, if it is encouragement, if it is prayer, what have you. Meeting, finding the need and endeavoring to meet that need is what a good pastor does. And I've asked God to give me grace and mercy in that. My third is to become a better preacher. So that has to deal with listening to preachers across the board, certainly Pastor Rachel and Pastor John, yourself, Pastor Rusty, and many others, from T.D. Jakes on down. I'm trying to listen and to read and to write more as much as I can so that I can glean wisdom from these preachers and hopefully incorporate some of that into my own style. I've asked God to help me to become a better son to my mom. She's going to be 88 on Sunday.
Okay.
That is absolutely vital to me because, I'm very close to my mom and was very close to my dad. My dad passed away 7 years ago. But my mom is still there, and she is still mom to me. She's still asking me if I'm eating vegetables and did I brush my teeth this morning. You would be amazed.
You told me she still calls you your little boy.
I'm still the baby boy.
Baby boy, that's right.
I'm 53 years old, and I'm still the baby boy. So, we deal with that. But not only to be a better son to my mom, but to be a better brother to my brothers, and to be a better brother to my sister. I have an eldest sister and 2 older brothers. But that is my second rock.
Yeah.
That I should say my third rock.
Yeah.
Also, one of my rocks is to take care of my body physically.
Yeah.
So I've been watching my diet. I've been exercising, much of which is not very pleasurable because I have an issue with dessert and ice cream and chocolate. But it's going well. It's going well. I have lost weight. I feel myself getting into better
Good for
shape.
you.
So between being a better husband, a better pastor, a better preacher, a better son and brother, as well as taking care of my body, those are my rocks.
Those are the big
Those
things.
are my rocks, and I have taken them very seriously since God gave them to me. And quite frankly, in this time of chaos, it is what gets me through. It's what keeps me grounded and focused.
Yes. I mean, how do you do that? Because I think what probably a tendency is, hey, these are the most important things. Well, crisis is happening. Whoosh. All of that out the window. So then instead of leading in the midst of crisis, I begin to manage, right? Try to, I become really reactive, which to a certain degree, you got to do some reorienting, and you might need to adjust some rocks, whatever. But how are you staying focused on those things and not letting the crisis be louder than what you've already just set out at the beginning of the year and said, hey,
Right.
this is what's most important? What's the
I,
secret?
I would have to say, well, for me, my rocks are also connected to my passion. So
Okay.
I couldn't escape these rocks if I tried to, because
Okay.
these rocks are what drive me every single day. So with all this chaos in the pandemic and the anxiety, the worry, the loneliness, all of that, all the financial concerns, that stuff can weigh on you so heavy that it becomes unhealthy. So what I do is tap into my passion. Like I am all heart, and
Yeah.
God knows that. Anybody who knows me knows that. So I can very easily be taken away and just be blown like the wind
Yeah.
as a result of all that's going on with this virus. To stay grounded, I focus on my passion. And my passion is my wife. My passion is the church. My passion is God's people. You know, my passion is to be healthy enough so that I can lead. So my rocks reflect my passion. And when I get overwhelmed with all the worry that's out there and all the concern, I run to my passion.
Yeah.
And it helps me to see clearly, not only what I should be doing, but it helps me to see clearly how I can help somebody else.
Yeah.
So I think the trick for me is that my rocks and my passions are connected to each other.
Yeah.
So there are things that I cannot escape.
Yeah.
There are things that drive me every
They're not just
single day.
goals on a list that
No.
you pulled out of thin air, but they're
No,
really
it's-
connected to
it's-
something that's happening in your heart.
Right.
Both right now, and it sounds like they're long time rocks
Right.
as well. These are
Right.
things you're.
And they're connected to my identity, you know, to who I am in Christ.
Yeah, it is interesting that a lot of your rocks have to do with relationships. You know, that I'm not surprised by that, knowing you, but that's interesting. That's very, very interesting. What tools or other like really practical habits do you have that you lean into to stay focused? I mean, do you have these things written down somewhere? Do you read them every day, or do you review them weekly, or any little things like that you do to when your heart
Yeah.
is blown, you know, left and to the right? How do you come back to the center here?
Well, I do have them written down.
Okay.
They are listed on my refrigerator.
Okay.
And because I am at the refrigerator rather frequently,
While you're eating healthy.
yeah, let's say that. I do see them on a daily basis.
Okay.
And I keep them in front of me as much as I can because they drive me.
Yeah.
They drive me. Now, there are some things that I don't do
Okay.
in order to stay focused. One thing is a word that has been harassing me since high school. It's called procrastination.
All right.
Whenever I feel it edging up to me,
Yeah.
I do things intentionally and right now to push that away, because that is a trick that the enemy has been using against me for years now.
Yeah.
And because I'm aware of the trick, as soon as I feel it, I get up and start working. I also try my best to surround myself with positive thinking and forward thinking people.
Okay.
I know what it is like to live in a depressive state.
Yeah.
I've been there before. I've battled depression in my lifetime.
Yeah.
I know what it feels like to be surrounded by people who have negative opinions, and all that does is drag you down. As best as I can, certainly as we work through this pandemic, I have to surround myself with people who think positively, who are forward thinking,
Yeah.
and who have a relationship, because a lot of what I use to make it through has to deal with God and Jesus and the Holy Spirit. And if those that are surrounding me don't understand those things, it becomes an exercise in futility sometimes.
Yeah.
So as much as I can, I try to surround myself with positive people as much as I can. When I feel procrastination creeping up on me, I do work so that I can push that away. You know, I try to get ahead of some things rather than waiting and having that stuff bog you down.
Yeah. So you named keeping them in front of you, eliminating procrastination when it creeps in, keeping positive people in your life. What about accountability? Is there? That's not something you've talked about, but I'm guessing. Are there? I mean, I know what these rocks are now. You've shared them with me in
Yeah.
other conversations. Are there people in your life that can call you on that and say, "Hey, Carl"?
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, what's
Oh, yeah.
accountability look like for you?
First of all, there's my wife.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she is my absolute biggest cheerleader. She also holds me to a standard. She makes sure I have boundaries. And when it comes to criticism, she knows how to give that to me without hurting my feelings.
crushing you, yeah.
Yeah. So then there's my mom, my 88-year-old mom, who holds no quarter.
Yeah.
That woman is no joke, and if I do something right or wrong, she's going to let me know.
Yeah.
But I have Pastor Rachel, I have Pastor John, I have you,
Yeah.
the entire worship design team, Dan Bracken, Chris Wingfield,
Yeah.
the entire staff here and at Fort McKinley, Shannon Flora. And then I have some very good friends that I've had since college,
Yeah.
who, by the way, have started joining us on Facebook Live.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So these are guys that I haven't talked to in 30 years.
Wow.
That all of a sudden
They're going to Fort McKinley.
they're members of my church.
Yeah,
you
that's
know.
wild.
So it's incredible, and they always have so much wisdom to offer me.
Yeah.
Because before I knew I would be in this seat of leadership, before I knew that I was a pastor,
Yeah.
these guys saw stuff in me in college
Yeah.
that they're confirming with me now. We saw this coming, Carl.
Yeah.
We knew you were going to be a leadership. You've been a leader this whole time. So this isn't strange to us.
Yeah.
But for me, coming from them, it is enlightening.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see some things in me that I forgot or that I didn't even know were there, but
Yeah.
I've been demonstrating since I was 18 years old.
Right. People could see it way before.
Yeah,
Before you
yeah,
could. Let's go back to one of those prior seasons. This is fascinating to me. You don't make a big deal about it because you're a humble dude, but you played NFL football for a little bit. I'm fascinated by that because that's like high level performance, high level competition, and people. That's not easy to do. That fascinates me. I look up to that in you because I know that there's a whole lot of character that went into that, not just your talent and your skills. But one of the things I'm curious about as a leader, we could probably talk about that for a long time, but as a leader, what did you learn on the football field that you're able to translate into being a pastor?
So I would have to say the biggest thing by far is this concept of team. I have been playing on teams since I was in the third grade. I
Wow.
was 8 years old. Every season, football, basketball, baseball, track.
Wow.
Since I was 8. So the vast majority of my life, I have been on a team. And I think I function best on a team. I understand how teams work, and I understand what's required if you want to have a solid one. So some of the things that are required is you have to have strong leadership. And then you have to have strong followership as well. But in order for followers to get behind the leader has to be credible.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing I've learned from playing football is if you want to be a leader, you have to be credible. You have to know what you're talking about. You have to know your craft. And you have to be able to set a team-like environment so that everybody can chime in, vibe in, and be a part. Sacrifice is huge.
Yeah.
I'll put it to you like this. The year that I made All-American, my first year, I only had 65 tackles. Now, for a guy playing my position, to make All-American, normally you need probably twice that amount.
Okay.
But I made All-American because of the sacrifices that I made on the field. For example, there were plays where I took on all the blocking so that my teammates could make the tackle. Mm-hmm. But coaches saw who really made that play.
Yeah.
So they would give me credit for taking blockers on while my other guys make the tackles.
Yeah.
Sacrifice is huge. And a true person that believes in sacrifice does not care who gets the credit.
Right.
They only care that the job gets done. A person who believes in sacrifice understands that it's not about my statistics. Mm-hmm. It's about the overall picture. And are we doing what we said we were going to do? Did we meet our objectives? Did we meet our goals? So you can't be selfish if you're on a team. You have to be sacrificing. I've also learned, of course, that you're going to get knocked down. Mm-hmm. You're going to get knocked down, and I've had my share of that.
Yeah.
Yes, my body can tell you and witness to you about that. But the key is not did you get knocked down. The key is did you get up. The key is did you learn something from getting knocked down. Mm-hmm. It's been my experience that I have learned so much more in a loss than I have in a win. Because when you lose a game, when you lose a competition, you right away have to start rethinking your strategy. You got to take a strong look at yourself to see where you may have broken down.
Yeah.
Are you in good enough shape? Did you lift enough? Did you stretch enough? You got to rethink your strategy. And you have to take a strong introspective look at yourself to see where you could have made some improvements, where you could have stood up,
Yeah.
where you could have made a difference. So, and that's tough work. Looking at yourself
Yeah.
in a loss, where did I break down?
Yeah.
That's tough work, but that's the work that makes you a better person. That's the work that makes you a better pastor, and it's certainly the work that makes you a better athlete.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
some of-
see that. Yeah, man, I see that in you. We get to sit mostly together at the message crafting table, and I see that humility in you. I see you learning from other leaders and other teachers and taking notes, and so I see you demonstrating all of the you just talked about, working as a team, sacrificing, watching film, right?
There
Going
you
back
go.
and saying, hey,
There you go.
how was my performance? How can I improve? That's all good stuff. What would you say today? We're going to kind of wrap up to the leader who maybe has let the crisis manage them in this moment. No shame in that. It happens. But how would you encourage them to get back on track today? Back to the big rocks.
Yeah, what I would encourage is that, first of all, you look at what you have in your hands
Okay.
right now. There are disappointments out there. There are areas where we feel that we need to measure up a little bit better, but what do you have in your hands right now? So for me, that means my wife. For me, that means my church. For me, that means my congregation. That means my family. These things are in my hand right now.
Yeah.
And there is something that I can do with what's in my hand right now,
Yeah.
despite what's going on with this pandemic.
Yeah.
The pandemic does not affect what I have in my hands right now.
Yeah.
So I would focus on that.
There's a great story in Exodus about a guy who had something in his hand.
There you
anyway,
go.
Sorry.
There you go.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
So I would focus on that. The second thing that I would do is I would try to get out of whatever box I might be in. You know, when chaos hits, we kind of run to that little box.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is get outside of that box. Break some rules. Break some rules. Because if you do the same thing you've been doing, you're going to get the same thing you've been receiving.
Yeah.
So break some rules at this point when you're stuck. And not only break some rules, but let God work out the details after you've broken the rules. Because some of us, when we get in this chaos mode, we start thinking contingency. Well, if I do this, this might happen. That person might say this, and he or she might do this or that. Let God work out all those details, all right? Pay attention to what's in your hand. Don't be afraid to break some rules and get out of the box. And then let God handle all the little details that might happen. Most of the stuff we worry about never happens anyway,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So just get out of that. Get out of that contingency mindset. Let God handle all them details. Break some rules and pay attention to what God has placed in your hand right here, right now.
Awesome, man. Dude, thank you for hanging out today. I appreciate
My
it so
pleasure,
much.
man. My
I wonder
pleasure.
from you, friend, what are the big rocks in your life that you're focused on, and how are you staying focused? I would love to see you post some of those in the comments. I'd be curious to know, and you might help somebody else. So would love to hear you interact over there. Carl, thanks again so much for
My
joining
pleasure.
us today.
My pleasure.
Awesome.
Thank you.